Hi, my name is Dr. Adam Del Torto, and welcome to my stretching video. Now, the purpose of this video is to make you younger. When people get old, the thing that makes them old is lack of mobility. So there's two things that determine mobility: joint restriction and muscle tightness. So we're going to address them both. With joint restriction, you have every joint in your body, every movable joint has a joint capsule around it, and you have a normal physiological range of motion. And then you enter into a buffer zone before you enter into trauma zone. So as you get older, that normal physiological range of motion decreases, as does your buffer zone. So part of the purpose of this video is to address both of those things. Increase your normal physiological range and your buffer zone before you enter into trauma zone. The second thing that causes lack of mobility is muscle tightness. Now, have you ever noticed how martial artists are very flexible, and as people get older, they're not so flexible? So the thing that causes that is muscle overlap. Now, your muscle fibers overlap like this. Now, martial artists have minimal overlap, so their muscles are very flexible. People that are older have maximal overlap, so they're very restricted in their motion. So part of the purpose of this video is to show you how to increase the muscle flexibility by decreasing the muscle fiber overlap so that your muscles are loose and flexible and make you younger as you grow older. So let's get started. Now, being a chiropractor, I'm specifically concerned with the range of motion of each vertebrae in your spine. The reason being is that the discs in your spine are the only part of your whole body that don't get a blood supply. Everything in your body gets a blood supply. Your hair, your skin, your bones, everything. The discs are avascular tissue. And the thing they depend on is each vertebrae moving independent of the one above and below it. And that allows for a pumping mechanism in the disc, which allows for an exchange of fluid and nutrients that keeps the disc healthy and full of fluid. Now, each vertebrae has 6 ranges of motion, and each vertebrae has to maintain all 6 of those ranges in order to maintain the health of the disc. So what you have is you have flexion, you have extension, you have lateral bending in both directions, and you have rotation in both directions. And you have to have all 6 of those ranges of motion to maintain the health of the disc. So these exercises that I'm going to teach you at this time are designed to induce all 6 of those ranges of motion in each individual vertebrae in your spine. The second factor in mobility is muscle flexibility. So we stretch in a manner that we call sequential stretching, where we stretch a certain muscle group first before we move on to the next muscle group, because the first muscle group has a direct effect on the flexibility of the second muscle group. This will make more sense to you as we go, and you'll see exactly what I mean. So let's get started. Okay, so the first thing we're going to show you how to do is how to stretch your neck. Now remember, there's 6 ranges of motion of each vertebrae, so there's 6 specific ranges of motion that we take you through when stretching and doing neck flexibility. And you want to do specific ranges of motion, none of this mixing of the ranges of motion. So here's the 6 ranges, and you do them just like this. First is flexion. So you slowly flex your neck all the way down to your chest, trying to visualize each vertebrae moving sequentially as you go through the range of motion. You come back to the neutral position, and then you go into extension very slowly. Go as far as you can go. And then you come back to neutral. Okay, then there's lateral bending. Each way, come back to neutral, go the other way. And while you're going through any of these ranges of motion, if you feel tightness or a place that's binding up your ability to move, reach up with your hand and take the tips of your fingers and try to locate that trigger point and just isolate it and dig on it, and then you'll be able to go further. And then you come back to neutral, and then you've got rotation both ways, left and right. And again, if you find a spot that's causing you to have restricted motion, reach up and isolate it, and then continue with the range of motion. And that's how you do stretching flexibility exercises with the neck. Okay, so the next part of this stretching routine focuses on muscle flexibility. And remember what I said, that we do sequential stretching, which means whichever muscle group we stretch first has a direct effect on the flexibility of the following muscle group that we stretch. So the first muscle group that we start with is the calf muscles. The calf muscles are considered to be the postural muscle of the entire body. If your calf muscles are flexible, all the other muscles in your body become flexible. So let's get started. So this is the proper way to stretch the calf muscles. First of all, you find a wall or some kind of a banister like this. You face it, you put your opposite foot forward, and you put your other foot back. Put your hands on whatever you're going to lean against, and make sure your back leg is straight and that your heel stays on the ground and your foot is pointed straight toward the wall. And all you do is bend forward and keep your heel on the ground and just relax. Don't make any scrunchy face, because the scrunchy face is going to make everything else in your body tighten up. And just relax and visualize those muscle fibers having maximal stretch like I showed you earlier in the video. So you just go like this, just relax and let it stretch, and hold it for probably 45 seconds. And then when you feel like you've got it stretched enough, what you do is you actually bend your knee. You slightly bend your back knee and make sure your heel still stays on the ground, and then it'll stretch the deeper muscles of the calf. So the next muscle group that we're going to stretch sequentially is the hamstring muscles, just moving right up the back. Now I'm pretty flexible, so I'm going to use like a countertop or a banister to stretch the calves, or the hamstrings, but I'll show you two different ways to do it. Okay, the first one is where you just put your leg up like this and lock the leg straight, and what you want to do is try to lean over the leg as far as you can. Now this is about as far as I can get, but it's putting maximal stretch on my hamstring area, and all I do is flex down this way, and then I turn as I stretch all vectors of the hamstring muscle, and I turn and I come down. Now I'm getting more of the medial hamstring and the groin until I feel like I get maximal stretch in all directions, and you do that on both sides. Now the second way to stretch your hamstrings, if you can't get your leg up on a countertop or a banister like that, is just to sit on the floor and have your legs like this, tuck your opposite leg in like this, and do the same type of stretch, where you lean forward, see if you can touch your toe, and try to get your nose down close to your knee. Now, this is about as far as I can get, and you just hold it and relax, and again, no scrunchy face, let everything else in your body relax, and visualize those muscle fibers decreasing in their overlap as you go through the stretch, and breathe and relax. Just no tightening of any other part of your body. Just stretch, and then you can stretch down this way as far as you can, but this is really getting maximal stretch on the hamstring area. Okay, so the next muscle group that we're going to stretch is the low back muscles. We've already stretched the calves, we've already stretched the hamstrings, so now we're going to go to the low back, the quadratus lumborum. And all you do is sit Indian style like this, and reach down and grab a hold of your foot and your knee, and you try to put your nose to your knee, just like this. And this stretches the opposite side of the low back. So you just reach down and try to get as close to this as you can, and you do it again. You do it both sides. And then right after that, what you do is you scoot back a little bit, put the bottoms of your feet together, pull them up as tight as you can into your groin, and then you just push down with your elbows. Now this is stretching more of the groin area. And just relax and try to flutter them down. Don't do any kind of bouncing technique. It's all static stretching, and visualize those muscle fibers just lengthening as you go. Okay, the next exercise, moving sequentially up the back. Remember, we did the calves, the hamstrings, and low back. Now this next exercise is my favorite exercise. This is the one that's going to put me out of business, because whenever my back hurts, this is the one that helps the most. So what you do is you just take your hands and make a triangle out of them like this, and you put them palms down underneath the small of your back, actually a little lower, like right around the sacrum, and you just rock back and forth on your hands. You're actually rocking over your wrist area, but it looks like this. And what you do is you just rock back and forth like this. And when you rock to the right, you're stretching the left. When you rock to the left, you're stretching the right. And this exercise just It just opens up the joint spaces between the vertebrae and induces mobility, and it really helps to reduce back pain. If you've got chronic achy back pain, you get up in the morning, you're stiff, you're hurting, you can't move very well. If you're going to pick any exercise to do this one. And here's a variation of it for also stretching like your pectoral region. Is you do the same motion, only you take your hands out from underneath the small of your back and you put them up this way and you just rock. And as you rock to the right, you're stretching this whole pectoral area here to the left. Same thing, when you stretch to the opposite side, you're stretching the whole left pectoral area. So you just go back and forth and rock like that. And that is like one of the best exercises you can do. Okay, so the next stretch you're going to do is you're going to grab a hold of both your knees and bring them to your chest as you bring your head forward to your knees like this. So you're just going to try to open up all those joint spaces in the back. And you hold that, you can do it one knee at a time first, and then do both knees, and try to focus on pressing the small of your back down through the floor. Okay, so then the next one you're going to do after this is where you cross your legs like this, and you bring your knees up all the way as high as you can. Trying to bring your foot to your nose like this. Then you do the other side like this, and try to relax as you're doing it. Okay, and then the next one is where you roll to your side like this, and grab a hold of your knee, and take your fist and put it in the small of your back, and just kind of pull down with your knee as you're pushing with your hand like this. And you do that on both sides. Okay, you do it on the opposite side like this, and this is what you do. And then you flip over. Okay, so the next one we're going to do is, now we've done all the ones all the way up the back, so now we're going to start in the front, and we're going to start from the top down. So on this one, what we do is what I call the cobra. So you just put your elbows like this, relax your buns, make everything else relaxed, and just try to get that arch in your back. When you get old, most people assume a flexed posture. And then everybody wants to stretch by bringing their knees to their chest. That's just the opposite of what you want to do. You want to stretch into extension. You don't want to stretch so much into flexion. So you go like this, and you just kind of rock back and forth like this, and just relax your back as you go back and forth like this. And try to just visualize your vertebrae getting into an extended posture. From here, what you're going to do is you're going to go up on your knees, and you're going to do what we call the cat. So you arch up and you lean back. And then you go into the cow, where you bend forward and you drop your belly. Okay, and you just keep doing these. Arch up and lean back, and drop down, and go into the cow. What this is doing is it's getting flexion and extension of the vertebrae. This is what it's doing. And then you want to get lateral bending. So what you do then is next what we call the dog, is where you wag your tail and you look at your feet. So you look at the side that you're wagging your feet to, and this is getting the lateral bending. So the cat is getting the flexion, the cow's getting the extension, and then the dog is getting lateral bending of all of your lumbar vertebrae. Okay, so the next exercise we're going to do sequentially up the spine. We just stretched the flexor muscles of the hip, and now we're going to do a more extensive flexor muscle of the hip. This is probably the one that's most important to most people, because the majority of us are sitting all day. So we're sitting in this flexed posture all day. So this stretch in particular is going to take your flexor muscles into extension, and it's probably going to be the most beneficial stretch of all for most of you. Okay, with this particular stretch, what you're going to do is assume a kneeling posture like this, and what you do is you take your up leg and put your foot out a little further like this. Try to keep your torso up, and all you got to do is bend over your forward knee like this. It's just stretching like this. And what you're trying to stretch actually is the front of your other opposite leg, the flexor muscles of your hip. So here's how you do it on one leg like this, and try to almost arch back a little bit while you're doing it. Don't bend your body forward. You gotta kind of arch back. You're trying to stretch this area. If you do it on the opposite side, it's like this. Again, take your foot, put your lead foot out a little further, keep your body up, and just bend over that knee. And again, you're trying to stretch this area, the hip flexors of your low back. This is a very important stretch. Okay, so the next muscle group that we're going to stretch in the sequential stretch routine is the quad muscle. Okay, so to stretch the quad, what you do is you reach back and you grab a hold of your foot like this, and you put your heel to your rump, and then you bend forward like this to stretch the entire length of the quad. It's not like this, it's like this. You get way up and try to also include the hip flexors in the stretch, so you get the full length of the quadriceps muscle. Then the next thing you do is reach over with your other hand and grab that foot and stretch this way. Again, bending forward and getting the full length of the quad, trying to visualize those muscle fibers lengthening as you do the stretch. And just lean forward, and it's as simple as that. And you do both legs, both sides. Get it this way, and again, getting it that way. Leaning forward. Okay, so now you've done all the stretches sequentially from the bottom up and from the top down in the front. So the last one that we're going to do is we're going to reach over and touch our toes. So basically, keep your knees bent slightly and just bend forward and see how far you can get down. Just kind of drop your body forward, like this. And see how far you can get down, but keep going. Don't give up. I mean, do this for about 45 seconds, and you'll get more and more of a stretch as you proceed. And then just bend forward like this, and pretty soon you'll be able to almost put your palms on the ground like this. Then you come back up, and what we do is we're going to go to range of motion of the spine now. So what we do is just slowly twist from side to side. Have your hands up like this. And the more you do this, the more range of motion you're going to get. This is giving you rotation of the spine, rotation of the lumbar spine. So you rotate side to side. You do this for about 45 seconds. Then you put your feet together, bend to the side this way. Now you're getting lateral bending in the lumbar spine, both sides. And you just kind of hold it there. Hold it there for about 15 seconds, both sides. Go into extension also. Now you're getting rotation, lateral bending, and extension in the spine. And then when you went down to touch your toes, you were getting flexion. Now you've got all 6 ranges of motion in the lumbar spine. Okay, so now we're going to teach you how to stretch the shoulder joint. The first stretch is you have to get like a door jamb or a post like this, and you bend your arm like this at 90 degrees this way and 90 degrees this way. So basically what you're going to do is put your arm like this and then just rotate away from it, stretching these fibers here. So this is how you do this stretch for the pec minor area. So this is the front part of the shoulder. Then you're going to come back to neutral, grab a hold of your shoulder like this and your arm and stretch it across this way. And then what you're going to do is you're going to go back up against the wall, and you're going to put your triceps against the wall and then rotate your armpit into the wall. It's going to look like this. So make believe this is a wall, and you take your triceps muscle and put it up against the wall, touch your hand to the back of your shoulder, your opposite shoulder, and then you roll into the wall like this, trying to put your armpit up against the wall. So the last part of the shoulder flexibility exercises requires the use of a small hand towel. So what you do is you take the hand towel, flip it over your back, grab a hold of it with the opposite hand, and you raise your other hand up as you bring your hand up as far up your back as you can. Now the important thing is to not have your elbow far away from your body. You want to have it in close proximity to your body as you bring the towel up as high as you can. And then you just drape the towel over your shoulder and totally relax. No scrunchy face, no tight muscles, just let everything go. And after you hold it there for about 15 seconds and you feel like you have maximal stretch, try bringing it up a little further and then draping it over and then relaxing. Now, all of these shoulder exercises you do bilaterally on both arms. But if you have a specific shoulder that's restricted in motion, or you have a frozen shoulder, you want to focus more on that side than the other. So the last part of the shoulder exercises is when you go through a slow, passive throwing motion. But you have to do it just like this, where you take your elbow and bring it back, bring the elbow forward, and follow through, just like this. So it's nice and easy, passive range of motion. Actually, it's active range of motion of the shoulder. But again, elbow back, elbow forward, follow through, just like this. And that's it. So those are Dr. Adams' mobility and flexibility exercises. And I guarantee you, if you do these consistently every day, you will grow younger with time. Thank you for listening.